find a very familiar passage of Scripture, the 40th chapter, beginning at verse 27, ending in verse 31. Isaiah chapter 40, verses 27 through 31. Let's read together. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God? Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint nor grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. Even youth shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. They wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. I want to preach from this passage, from the topic, responses to questioning God. Responses to questioning God. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to take a retreat and get some rest and to spend some time with God. A part of my custom when I do that is to spend some time doing some advanced church planning and advanced sermon preparation. And as a result of that, I had came to the conclusion that there was something else that I was going to preach about on today. And as things kind of unfolded throughout the week, and by somewhere between late Thursday afternoon and early Thursday evening, I just kind of hit a wall. And as best as I can describe it, my spiritual strength and my emotional strength and mental and physical strength were depleted. My tank was empty. And as I shared with the leaders at our meeting on yesterday, probably about for the first time that I can recall, I just didn't even want to preach. It was a feeling that I was unfamiliar with. And on the other side of my mind, that there is a clock that ticks, and it speaks to me. And the clock in my head that was ticking said to me, Sunday's coming.
Come on, God. Yes.
And my honest confession to you today is I didn't have it. Yet the clock was speaking and ticking. So I said a brief prayer, and I just kind of shut it down for the rest of the day. And something happened on Friday morning. When I woke up, almost immediately, the Lord spoke to me. And he said to me, "But they that wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They'll mount up wings as eagles. They'll run and not be weary, walk and not faint." And I wasn't sure initially if that was just for me,
right,
or if God was speaking to me about what he wanted me to talk to you about.
Right.
Because it just seemed like that was just for me. And so what I decided that I would do is I would kind of restart my process and not just kind of skip steps. When you've been doing this for a while, you kind of know what comes first, what comes second, and you can kind of think about this step without going through this step. But I decided, no, I'm not going to cheat the process of study, and I'm going to do what I normally do. And it was when I was studying and analyzing the situation that brought about these famous words from the prophet Isaiah that the Lord began to kind of connect the dots to me for you. And this book of Isaiah, it's a fascinating book. In some ways, it mirrors the structure of the Bible, because the Bible, as you know, has 66 books. There are 39 in the Old Testament, and there are 27 in the New Testament. The book of Isaiah, the first 39 chapters, are kind of doom and gloom. And then from chapter 40 on, the remaining 27 chapters, they tell a different story.
Okay.
God was using the prophet Isaiah to speak to the people, to Judah, but also to Israel, and to some extent even to the surrounding nations, about the consequences for sin. And in many ways, he was sounding a warning, letting them know that they needed to change their ways. And since he was a prophet, God told him what was going to happen before it happened, and he told the people what God told them. And he said to the people that if you don't change your ways, there's going to be a price to pay. And over throughout that first 39 chapters, you'll hear the prophet speak about that, and he kind of sums it up in chapter 39, and he tells them that the Babylonians are coming, and everything that you had and everything that you own gonna be taken. Sons that came from your body, and all of these types of things that you knew to be the case would no longer be the case. And we know from reading the Old Testament that took place, and it was 70 years of captivity that God's people found themselves in. And yet, when chapter 40 rolls in, the prophet starts to sing a new song. He started out by telling the people, he said in chapter 40, verse 1, comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry to her that her warfare is ended and her iniquity is pardoned, that she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins. And so after talking about what was going to happen in a negative sense, the prophet brought some good news to the people about what was going to happen afterwards. But it just seems as if they kind of got stuck on the first part. Because when we enter our text down in verse 27, it's clear to me that Isaiah is responding to what he heard the people talking about. Y'all with me? And they were talking bad about God because of their trouble. And we don't hear the direct comments that they said. We just pick up with how Isaiah responded to their questioning. And it says in the text, verse 27, Isaiah says, "Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God." I want you to kind of try to feel
Help us, preacher.
what God's people were thinking, and what their thinking led to what they began to speak about God. In essence, what they were saying is, you got us going through all of this stuff. And you ain't nowhere to be found.
Come on, God.
That's what they're saying about God. Because the prophet told them that trouble was knocking on their door. And the people's response is to say that my way is hidden from God. Like all of a sudden, he doesn't know.
Come on, God.
He's forgotten about us.
No.
He don't care
Come on, God.
anymore. He does not possess the ability to regard or to do something about our situation, because if he is who he says he is, why would he let us go through what the prophet said is about to happen? And my question is, can y'all feel them today?
Yes.
I don't know if they were just thinking it and the prophet just knew what they were thinking because God told them. Or I don't know if they were just kind of talking about it on the telephone, or they were murmuring after worship, or if they had the audacity to open their mouths and say it with conviction that God's forgotten about us. I don't know, but some kind of way their thinking affected their attitudes And they began to question God on the basis of their circumstances.
Lord have mercy.
Where is he? Does he know what we're going through? Did he forget the prayers
Come on, God.
that we've been praying? Did he lose his juice to do something about it? The people were challenging God.
Oh my.
And on top of that, they said, and my right has been disregarded, concluding that if judgment were to come, it would come out in their favor, but since God is absent, they're not being treated fairly.
Right.
God help us to hear.
That's what they're saying in the text. They're saying God ain't who he says he is. And he can't do what he told us that he can do.
Lord help us today.
And I can't speak for y'all. There have been times in my life
Yeah.
where I didn't say it,
Uh-huh.
but I thought it.
Yeah.
If you are who you say you are,
Right.
how is it that you could allow
Help us, preacher.
all of this
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
that you got me dealing with?
Right.
Where are you?
My God, my God.
Did you stop caring? Did I mess up some kind of way as to I used to deserve your love and now all of a sudden because is it my fault?
Right.
Did I not come to church enough? Did I not give you enough? What is it about me that would cause you to start looking after me and then stop looking after me and allow me to go through all of what you know I'm dealing with and not do nothing about it?
Right.
Bless me, Jesus.
Been there.
That was their complaint against God. And the text is nothing more than God's response to their complaint.
All right.
And the thing that really got me about the text is, had I been God,
Ooh, Lord.
I would have.
Boy, thank goodness.
I'd have just let them have it.
That is the truth.
But God responded to their complaint.
Right.
He responded to their criticism. He responded to their questioning of who he is and what he said and what he's able to do
Yes, sir.
in such a way as to cause me to believe that we can learn from how God responded to their complaint,
Right.
with coming to the conclusion that he just might respond to us the same way when we complain. Whether we say it out loud or whether we just think it. Whether we try to conceal it and say the right words on the outside, but on the inside we got some questions.
Yes, Lord.
If God responded to them, how might he respond
Oh, Jesus.
to me?
Oh,
All right.
How might he respond to you?
Help us, preacher.
When you've been clouded by circumstances and it causes you to think funny about God. That's what the text is about, y'all. And can I tell you how God responded?
Help us,
Yes,
preacher.
yes, please, please.
His first response, y'all ready? Get your bulletins out. Y'all can write this down and fill in the blanks. When the sermon's over, y'all can relive it throughout the week. How does God respond
All right.
to their questions? Who he is and what he said and what he said he was going to do. Well, the first way that God responded to their questioning him is he responded by asking rhetorical questions.
All right, all right.
That's how he responded. By asking rhetorical questions. And a rhetorical question is a question that you already know the answer to before you ask the question.
Right.
And so, if he asked the question that he knew the answer to, and that he knew that they knew the answer to,
Right.
why would he ask the question
Help us, preacher.
in the first place?
All right.
I was always taught, if you know the answer, don't ask the question. I hear my daddy right there. If you already know what you're asking for.
Right, right.
But it seems to me there was some method behind this madness. That he was just trying to stir up their memory.
Help us, preacher.
And that's how he responded to them questioning God. By asking rhetorical questions. And the first question that he asked the people, when he said, "What are y'all talking about? My way is hidden from the Lord. And God is not regarded, he's not executing judgment, he's not doing his job like he said he would. And y'all, what are y'all talking about?" Is what the prophet is saying. He asked the question, "Don't you know?" And if I could give you Hawkins' paraphrase of that first rhetorical question, it would go something like this. After all this time,
Right.
you've been walking with me.
Yeah.
You ain't learned yet
Right.
about who I am.
Right.
He asked the people a serious question. Hast thou not known?
Help us, doctor.
He's saying, y'all understand who God is by now?
Oh, Lord, oh, Lord.
Let's call the roll. Isn't he the same God
Right.
that heard their cry in Egypt land
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
and sent Moses to be their deliverer?
Yes, sir.
Isn't he the same God who, through a series of 10 plagues, made it abundantly clear that he was more powerful than the Egyptian gods that were worshipped? Isn't he the same God
Yes.
that when they got to the Red Sea, God told Moses to stretch out your rod, and the Red Sea parted, and God's people went across the river on dry land, and when the army pursued, the waters collapsed and they were drowned? Isn't he the same God that when they got to the waters and the waters waters were bitter, and God told Moses to put some wood into the river, and the bitter waters became sweet. Isn't he the same God when they were hungry? He rained down manna from heaven every single day. Isn't he the same God that led them a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night? Isn't he the same God that protected them from their enemies? And isn't he the same God that when they got to the Jordan River on the brink of the promised land, he told the priests, step your foot in the water at flood season, and the Jordan parted and they went over into Canaan land? Isn't he the same God? And now because you're in hot water, you're going to complain, and the prophet says, don't you know?
You know, Lord, help us to hear. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Help us to hear, God.
If Isaiah were here today, he might say, ain't you been to Sunday school? He might say, you listen to the same preacher for 22 years and listening to another one for 7 years, telling you Sunday after Sunday about the goodness of God. Have you not known? Then the prophet, another question. After he said, in response to their complaint, don't you know? Then the prophet said, ain't nobody told you? Has anybody testified to you about how God brought them out?
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
He's saying, you ain't heard from somebody else about what I did in the past? It was a question that he already knew the answer to. And he already knew that they knew the answer. Isaiah knew what they knew. And he knew what they heard. But because circumstances cloud us at times, they needed a reminder. And so he just took them back and reminded them what they already knew, what they already heard. That's how he responded to them questioning God. He had another response. The first response was by asking rhetorical questions. I might be so bold today to ask you the same question Isaiah asked the people. Don't you know? Haven't you heard? And then the prophet moves from asking rhetorical questions to declaring God's character and power. They said, he ain't and he can't. The prophet said, he is and he can. And he just, for a few lines here, just continues to declare who he is and what he can do. There is no spanking of the people. He just reminded them what they already knew, what they already heard. And he just declared to them again who he is, what he can do. I don't know, because the text says that after he said, have you not known, have you not heard, He said, the Lord is the everlasting God. And that is to say that all that makes God, God, he's always been all of that. If not forgetting about you is a part of what makes God, God, he's always going to not forget about you. That's what makes him God.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him everlasting God. If God is God in part because he's loving, then he's always going to be loving. Because he is the everlasting God.
Yes.
If God is all powerful, and that's a part of what makes God God, then he's always going to be all powerful because he is the everlasting God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And regardless of what you going through, regardless of what the prophet said was coming their way, it did not change who he is
That's right.
and what he can.
That's right. Amen.
Because the Bible says
Amen.
that he is the everlasting God.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He was God before trouble came. He's God in the midst of trouble. And if he should allow us to see another day and breathe some more of his air when we wake up in the morning, he's still the everlasting God. He is, he was, he will forever be God.
Yes, sir.
And that's a part of his response to them saying, did he stop caring? Did he forget? Did he run out of blessings the last time he bailed me out of trouble? And he don't have it in him no more? Did he run out of energy? Is he tired of fooling with me?
Help us to hear God.
Because I'm such a needy child of his? Maybe, since that's how I think, maybe that's how God thinks. And the prophet is just declaring his character and his power. He said he is, then he said what he can do. He's the creator of the ends of the earth. Y'all see that in the Bible?
Yeah.
That's because he is the everlasting God. Only a God can start with nothing and turn nothing into something. That's the God that they were challenging, criticizing, accusing, questioning. The God who started with nothing and said, let there be.
Yeah.
And there was.
Right.
And in response to the fact of did he run out of power doing all that creation? Did he run out of the ability to help his people? The text says that he does not
Help us, preacher.
go faint or weary. His understanding is unsearchable. There it is right there, y'all. Sometimes we think if God is God, he need to do something about this right now.
Right now.
But my Bible says his understanding is unsearchable.
Help us, preacher.
How he does what he does not always line up with how we think he ought to do what we want him to do. His understanding is unsearchable. but he's still God, y'all. It don't always happen like I want it, but he's still God.
Yes, sir.
His understanding is unsearchable. And then it goes on to say that not only did he not run out of power, but he's got enough to spare and to share.
Yeah.
He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. So how does God respond when they question him? He responded by asking some rhetorical questions. Don't you know? Ain't you heard? And then he responds by declaring his power and his character. He is everything that he's always been. And his power did not run short.
Right.
And so there's one other response I want to share with you today from the text about how God responds when his people questioned him. The third response is by promising strength to those who wait.
Help us, preacher.
And it just blew me away when I concluded that they was talking bad on God, and he responded by giving them a promise.
Yeah.
Right.
He didn't beat them up. He didn't wear them out. He stirred up their memory. He had the prophets say who God is and what he can do.
Right.
And then on top of all of that, they questioned and he assured by promising strength to those who wait. And that's where this famous line comes into play. You got to understand the setup so that it makes more sense. And it even blows me away even to a larger degree without taking the time to understand what was going on. But now that we know, it's even more amazing. God would respond when I question him by assuring me through his promise. And he guarantees strength. And all we got to do is wait.
Yes.
But they wait for the Lord
Yeah.
shall renew their strength.
Yes, sir.
I want to share with you a couple of things about waiting.
Help us.
Waiting is not, I do nothing,
Help us.
God does everything.
All
And
right.
until he does what he does, I'm going to just sit here.
Help us today.
That's not
Help us.
waiting in a biblical, spiritual sense. Waiting is active and not passive.
Right.
To wait in this text means to hope.
Okay. Yeah.
To wait in this text means to look with eager expectation.
Yeah.
To wait in this text means to endure suffering. So you could say, but they who hope shall renew their strength. And that would be absolutely correct. You can even say, but they who look to me with eager expectation, those are the ones that shall renew their strength. You could say, but they who patiently endure suffering, those are the ones who will renew their strength. Because waiting is active
Yeah.
and not passive. And it comes with a promise. And there's just something about waiting that God has put into the process of deliverance and hearing us and maturing us, that without learning to wait, we wouldn't be all He wants us to be. And so oftentimes He will not remove from the equation our need to learn
Right.
how to wait, how to hope,
Help us, help us.
how to eagerly look to Him with expectation, how to impatiently, without complaint, endure suffering. It is part of how God changes us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord.
And even though we don't like it,
Help us.
we need
Yeah.
to learn how to wait.
Right.
So true.
That's just how it is, y'all. And the reason that I know that that's the case is because I did a little study of weight, and the number of times I found it in the Bible just literally blew me away. I'm going to just share a few of them with you. And we'll wrap this thing up. Job said, if a man dies, shall he live again? And then after that, he said these words, all the days of my appointed time, I'll wait till my change
Yes.
comes.
Okay.
David said it like this: wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Psalm 37 and 34 says it like this: wait on the Lord and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. Psalm 40 and 1 said, I waited patiently
Patiently.
for the Lord,
Yeah.
and he inclined unto me, and he heard my cry.
Right.
And all I'm trying to tell you is God oftentimes will not remove our responsibility to learn how to wait. You may not like it, but you need it. Without waiting, you won't mature as you ought.
Oh, God, help us today.
Without waiting, you won't trust God like you ought. Without waiting, you won't learn how to be patient
Help us, God.
with other people.
Oh, Lord.
Without waiting, you might come to the conclusion that God is supposed to do what you want
Right.
him to do when you want him to do it. We need to learn how to wait, how to hope, how to look with eager expectation, how to patiently endure suffering. It's to our benefit, and it comes with a promise. What's the promise?
All right.
Renewed strength.
Yeah.
No waiting, no strength. No hoping, no strength. No eagerly looking to God with expectation, no strength. No patiently enduring suffering, no strength. Keep complaining, no strength. But if you do, the Bible says there's a promise. Renewed strength, and he describes what it looks like. Those are the ones that will go higher. He says, mount up with wings, eagles. God will allow them to soar above.
That's what he does.
Not only will they go higher, they'll run faster. He'll allow you to rise above that what you got to endure. And to keep on moving forward.
Yes.
To run,
Yes.
not get weary. And then the text says, not only will you be able to go higher and will you be able to run faster, but you'll be able to last longer.
Yeah.
The stuff won't wear you out.
Ha,
Right.
Thank you.
He doesn't always remove the stuff.
So good. That's so good.
But if you hope,
Right.
if you look, if you patiently endure suffering without complaining, he will lift you higher. He will let you go faster. He will allow you to last longer. And that what you got to go through won't wear you out, won't slow you down, and won't drag you down. It's his promise. And the only thing that I really want to know is, do you believe it?
Yes.
Do you believe it enough to act on it?
Oh Lord.
That when the complaint starts to rise like reflux,
Come on, God.
and you feel it coming up, that you will be able to stop it in its tracks. And like the prophet said, don't you know? Ain't you heard? He is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the world. He does not get tired or grow faint. He gives power to the strength, and to those that have no might, he increases strength. The young shall grow weary and utterly fall, but sometimes you gotta talk to yourself.